What's up, my beautiful people? I am back with another video. And what do I want to do first? We are gonna start off with, let's do Bluff City Law first, because that's the one I watched first. If I can find my notes at. I finally get to, guys, do you like my phone? Isn't it cute? I was gonna do a review when I first got it, because every year I upgrade to a new phone, and I was gonna do the review on it like during the opening before I took my old, like record on my old phone, me unboxing it. Um, but I didn't. I just like went and quickly got them changed over. But I finally got two phones to record on because it's an unfortunate situation. But somebody that was on my line gave their phone back, so, and I still gotta pay for it. So I figured, why not use the phone, and I'll just have two phones now, since I'm gonna have to work to pay it off. So anyway, so now I get to use my phone and show you guys my phone. I'm such a dork, I'm sorry. So we're starting off with Bluff City Law. We are on episode 4 called Fire in a Crowded Theater. And we're starting off, there's a protest going on, like two people side to side, and one side is saying, see the light, see the light, see the light. And then the other people, like, they're yelling, but you can't really hear what they're saying, but their signs say, no, no racism. And another sign said, hate ain't great. So then we have, like, you would have thought we were in the protest, but then it like zooms out and you can see that somebody's watching TV, and it's Elijah sitting there with two people. And cutting back to the video, they're still saying chanting see the light, but it's actually a news reporting. And we see a man pull out a gun and shoot a girl. Come to find out that the shooter pled guilty, and the people on the couch, they're her parents. So, they have to watch the news watching their daughter get shot all over again. And the guy pled guilty. And so, where are we? The people chanting, see the light. Excuse me, guys, my nose is running. And if you hear that, which I think I'm about to get sick again, because if you hear that noise, that's my air conditioner that is still in the window. But the people in my house are cold, so they're running the heat on like 80 something. So I get hot quick. So if it is cold in the house, like right now, I got on a sweater. I'll just put on long sleeves and call it a day. But they have the heat blasting, and so I got my fan on. So those are, two restricted things, and my nose is starting to run already. But I can't be hot. I'd rather be cold than be hot. That's just the type of person I am. So if I wipe my nose a lot, or you see me grab a tissue, I'm sorry. It is what it is. Where were we? So the people chanting see the light, they're an alt-right group called Sons of, I just lost it. Sons of Light, duh, Erica. In which the killer was a member of. And the parents want to go after the leader, and his name is Campbell Mathers. It's just like he invokes violence with all the stuff that he says, which he's just a racist white guy who believes the world would be better if it was all white people. And you have a video of him saying that, oh, this is after the fact, so let me go back. So the dad is like, what happens to the real killer, Campbell Mathers? He's the one that killed my daughter. And he was like, so what happens now? And so Elijah was talking about following the civil suit. He's like, no. What happens to him? I want to go after him. So then we have Elijah in his office, and he's looking at video of Campbell Mathers. And it's like all the stuff that he said about how, white people are the best, or white men, you know, like this country would just be so much better if it was just all white people. Talking about they built this country. You didn't build anything. You built this country off the backs of people of color and making them do all the work for you. And then you didn't even build anything. It was already built by the people that were already here. So speaking of yesterday, did not celebrate that holiday. Well, I celebrated indigenous people, not Columbus Day. The only the only Columbus, the only Christopher we acknowledge is Wallace. That's what I get. I'm such a goofball. Anyway. So it's gonna be a civil case against Campbell Mathers, and it's like fighting against freedom of speech. So we have Elijah and Sydney like disagreeing because she's saying like, well, I agree with you. What he's doing is not right, but you cannot silence freedom of speech. So she don't think that he should even be doing this because it's just like, you're not gonna win this. And so we have and he told her like she was maybe too sheltered to understand what's going on. Like they didn't have her like out in the forefront, I guess, as a kid and even now as an adult. So it's just like she sees these type of things and she only sees them one way, like the law way, you know. So what she's doing this episode that really was of no importance, so I'm just gonna get it out the way right now. Della came to her and asked her to read a suitcase full of diaries of her mom's. One of her friends passed away, so she has no next of kin that anybody knows of. So they need to find one so her estate has somewhere to go. And so with her reading all the diaries or whatever, she never had one person that she was really close to that could get her estate. So what they did was, there was always a park she went to write in. So they built like a fund to keep the park clean in her name. And that's where her money and all her stuff went to. Just get that out the way. So back to Elijah's case. Anthony came to him and he wanted to be second chair. You know, like him as a black man, it meant something to him. So we got to see Anthony's wife this episode. She's a beautiful lady. I loved her twist out. It was real cute. And she had some concerns. She was like, I used to worry about you as a cop not coming home. I thought with you practicing law, it would be safer. But, you know, like this type of case. And she's just like, I don't want to have to worry about you. And she was like, why are you doing this anyway? And he said, you know, he's doing it for their daughters because they know what happened in the past. Because I should have took note of what he said exactly, because it was like, it had me thinking about like real life. He said, our kids are growing up watching their future turn into the past. So it's just like basically what they learned and what they know about what happened, people are trying to make that history right now, and he doesn't want that to happen. So it's like, I gotta fight so things like this don't happen again. And so she's like, okay, I can respect that. And let's see. So then we have like a negotiation or like a meeting of lawyers, and that's with Elijah and Anthony meeting Mathers' lawyer. And come to find out, Elijah knows her. They used to work together. They used to win cases together. And, you know, like now they're going up against each other. And I think like Elijah's never won a case, and she was, I mean, never lost a case. And she was like, it's just sad you would have your first case would be losing to me. And so, you know, like they're just talking and joking, and Anthony's in the background just looking at them like, what is going on? And so he was like, curious, and Anthony was like, no, I'm confused. And Elijah said, you know, back in my day, attorneys, like, you battle it out in the courtroom, but as soon as you leave, you friends afterwards. So, you know, and that's what it was throughout the episode, just Elijah and, I didn't write down her name because it's not important. It's just like they going back and forth, having good times with each other outside of the courtroom. And So we still, Jake is still working with George. I honestly thought last episode was gonna be, I thought we was done with George, but he wants to file a civil suit on George's behalf, and George is walking, like they're walking together, but George is walking down the street eating a donut, just talking about life. And I believe the movie is called When in Rome, if I'm not mistaken. Because he's like, there's an old movie with a couple in Rome, and they're splashing together in the water. And I believe it's When in Rome with Audrey Hepburn, if I'm not mistaken. I said all that to say, so he's just like, I just want to live life to the fullest. I don't want to sue them. I don't want to do a civil suit. And he jumps into the fountain and just like is splashing around, just having himself a good old time. And Jake is just looking at him like, so he gets a doctor, and they're outside talking, and the doctor said George is not, like, his mind isn't here. He's created a fairy tale world for himself, so he don't have to deal with what's going on right here. So I don't know what, like, he's gonna need some help. That's what he told me. Like, he needs help because he doesn't want to deal with what's going on right here, so he's just making up stuff in his mind. And so then we're back to Elijah and Anthony's case, and as they're walking in, one of the white guys of the, what is it called, Sons of Light cult, I'm calling it a cult because they all have the pins like on their shirt, and they're just walking in, and one of them specifically bumps into Anthony. So Anthony looks at him and he's like, so sorry, Mr. Little, like, let him know, like, I know who you are. And so as we're getting started, Anthony keeps looking back because I guess it's like he could feel eyes on him, and he turns around and it's that same guy just staring at him. Like, he won't look nowhere else, just staring straight at Anthony. So his wife comes in, and as he keeps looking back and noticing that that guy is looking at him, he signals to Sydney, like, get her out of here. And so, like, after they have a day in court and he goes home, like, she is upset. She's like, why did I have to leave? She's like, if we're gonna do this, I'm gonna do it by your side. I can handle myself, just going off being that strong black woman. Like, I don't need you to kick me out. They weren't gonna do nothing to me. And so he's just like, I'm thinking of protecting my family. I don't know what's gonna go on. And I got this guy like looking at me like, come on now, why are you giving me a hard time about this? And she's just like, she had to breathe down like, okay, you're right. And if you feel it's the best, I'll stay away. But you have to give me something in return. Just like, oh, my mind dirty. But it wasn't like that. She was like, you have to bring me home a win. So it's just like, I can try, and they make up and it's so good. Come on, notes. So, right. Because I don't have a lot of notes for this. So basically at the end, because the whole trial, I don't want to go word for word on it, but it's just like they talked to Kevin's mom, because the shooter's name is Kevin Bayer, I believe. And she was just like, he was never like this, but come to find out he did have some mental problems in school, and he used to lash out, and so that was the defense. So it's just like, you're not gonna blame this all on Mathers because your kid had problems before then. And then we talked to Kevin himself, and he was like, no, because they asked him like, were you acting under the command of Mathers? And he said no, not at all. So they showed him something that he wrote on Facebook, and like, are these your words? And he was like, yes. And it was Anthony cross-examining him, because he was like, you don't like black people, do you? And he was like, no, I don't. So then he read his Facebook post and was like, are these your words? And he was like, yes. And Anthony was like, no, they're actually not. So then he pulls up another page, and it's Mathers' words, like word for word, on Twitter from like years ago. And he's like, you were like so deep into this to the point you thought that these were really your words, and they weren't. And so it's just like he was sitting there with the face, he didn't know what to say. And so then we have Mathers himself. And with that, when Elijah is cross-examining him, he like blows up because Mathers is going on, because there's a mural like downtown that was never completely finished, but it was like with civil rights leaders and like other leaders. And he asked him, he was like, did you know my wife was working on that before she passed away? And he was like, no. And he was like, yeah, she was doing it for this reason, because they brought people together, they loved each other. And Mathers like compared himself to, he was like, you know, I should be up there because I'm doing the same thing. Like, people didn't agree with what they were saying, but they stood up for what they believed in, and you know, people grew to love him, love them. And he was like, that's all I'm doing. So that's when he asked him, like, did you know about my wife? And he was like, and for you to compare yourself to my wife, I should come over there and beat your ass. And it was just like he blew up in court and whatever, you know. Of course, he got held in contempt. They got him out. And when he came back to do his closing argument, he apologized to the court, and he's like, you know, before I say that, one thing that did like kind of, even though I know it's fake, he showed that video of that man shooting, because the parents were in the courtroom, of Kevin shooting, her name was Ashley Webster, that was her name. He showed that video like 2 or 3 times, and it's just like, damn, how many times do the parents have to watch their daughter get shot, you know, on that video? But it's like, that's what happens when you're in court, because like they're trying to prove a point and win the case, so they're going to show that video as many times as they feel like they need to. And they kept showing his tweets too, because his tweets, you know, like they didn't do him any good. It's just like, you're very racist and you're trying to tell people what they need to do. But he compared it to the name of the title called Fire, what is it, Fire in a Crowd. And it's like, you cannot go into a crowded room of people and just yell fire if there is no fire. And saying basically that's what Mathers is doing. He's inciting riots and telling people, you know, like, we have to do this to have order, and he doesn't need to. So long story short, they won the case for $20 million. And that was pretty much it. It was a good episode though, because like at the end, Anthony had that one tear going down his face, and it's just like, you know, it was emotional. And Elijah told him, he was like, you know, people need to see you, and thank you for helping me out on this case. And it was also a little moment between Sydney and Emerson, because with her little case that she was working on, she was like, this lady, she was alone. That lady did not have anybody she was close to. Like, she wrote about people, she had friends here and there, but there was no specific person that she was close to. And Sydney, she met with Emerson, and she was like, I don't want to be like that. And he was like, you won't. You have dad, ... and you have me. So that was just a cute little thing. But anyway, yeah, that was the video. That was the episode. And I will see you guys later.